Welcome back to a brand new episode of our vodka series, Data Unlocked, our guide to data mastery. This series was written especially for vet teachers, but it applies really to every professionals out there. So if you're joining us today, welcome. Go through the website of the project. We have a Moodle platform, data handbook, and other interesting episodes with guests that are waiting for you. So, we are halfway through this journey, through this first series, and I think it's time to dive into another important aspect of data literacy that bridges education, public policies, real life impact. And I'm talking, obviously, about data driven policy and reporting. So, we know we have already agreed on the fact that data plays a crucial role in shaping public policies, in shaping public investment strategies in areas like education, capacity building, local development. And having an evidence based approach to policymaking not only helps design effective interventions, but it can also help us evaluate their outcomes and long term impact. I mentioned evidence based approach, but during today's episode, we'll also see which other approaches or way to data we can consider. We'll talk about performance based, we'll talk about impact and much more. We know that reporting is a fundamental skill across many vocational education and training programs. It's important in business administration and accounting, for instance. Or it can also be essential when we are preparing maybe our financial statements, or when we are managing budget, or when we're trying to comply to regulatory requirements. And in fields such as IT, project management, healthcare, communication, tourism, you name it, really, in any field, reporting ensures that we have like accurate documentation. It ensures that our operational efficiency is well stated, that our compliance documents are all aligned with the industrial standards, and that we are tracking our campaigns correctly. And even on, I think, hands on areas like construction or engineering, reports and reporting skills support project updates. They support compliance tracking, they support cost management. So if you are a vet teacher and you have students that are preparing for these fields, you know how important data, the ability to report data correctly will be once they start working. Today, we'll be discussing this. We'll be thinking about policymaking and data management, but in the field of education, in our classrooms, with our lesson plans, and with our, let's say, framework for interactive activities. We can all agree when I say that for educators, understanding this process is crucial, not only because it ensures that we can share these skills with our students, but it's also important for us to integrate data driven approaches into our own projects. I've said it before and I'll repeat it countless times before the end of this series that we are digital citizens, and the way our information is available out there in the public space is something that's vital to us, to our own, I don't want to say surviving, just not to sound tragic, but to our own existence in the digital space. So, the way we fully participate in the digital space, the way we are aware of the circulation of our information. To help us explore this amazing topic, I'm thrilled to welcome Maria Cristina Risoli. She's an expert with extensive experience in European projects, public policy and consulting, and impact evaluation. I'm happy she's here today with us because she is an expert in using data to build effective policies and to assess their results. So thank you very much, Maria Cristina, for being here with us. Thank you for accepting our invitation and for joining us.
Thanks, Ada. Thanks for your invitation, for this opportunity to talk about my job and reflect more on it as well.
It's a pleasure. It's my pleasure, actually. So let's just get straight to it. So, to start, can you please explain how data is used in developing projects, especially in areas like education, digitalization, local development? And I'm thinking about projects in general, but also specifically about European projects.
Yes, sure. Data represent the core of all development projects in any field, training, digitalization, education. And with data, data is from the foundation of decision-making processes because it acts as a tool for analysis and validation of decision. And also because with data, we generate the building blocks of the decision-making structures. And European projects are clearly an important prime example of this because through data we build up the project, its tasks, we monitor the state of play, we analyze and validate the outcomes, and evaluate the results with regards to objectives and general strategies.
Thank you. With this first answer, you've already started mentioning some elements we haven't seen so far. So you just mentioned data validation. I think this is something we will continue talking about throughout the episode. But before going there, I would like to ask you, how does the approach to evidence based policymaking impact the effectiveness of public investments? Like, what are the key challenges in integrating data into policymaking, and which team members are expected to have a deeper understanding?
Firstly, let me spend few words to explain what evidence-based means. We refer to an evidence-based approach when a decision, or in my case, a definition of public policy, is based on data, and the results came from observing reality and empirical evidence. Therefore, the evidence based methodology represents the tool through which their effectiveness and ability to achieve objectives are measured. This demonstrates, in my opinion, the great power of data and consequently its potential risks and danger. This is also why issues of transparency regarding the dissemination of data and information are frequently discussed. About challenges, I think that we have three key challenges could be considered about data. The first one is a good setup of indicators. The second one is an accurate estimate of these indicators. And the third one is the ability to analyze and interpret data as a tool to measure indicators. At the same time, I believe that a fundamental key challenge could consist in keeping the bar straight on the use of the data, being honest to follow up on the evidence, because this sometimes means reviewing decisions and the entire decision making processes. About the team, you talked about the team. I'm a strong supporter of teamwork. In my job, we usually say no place for a one-man show. So we work together towards a common goal. In this meaning, I think that in every team, every member should be involved, each with a defined role. About data, we have people from that occupy a role about data gathering or to analyze data and validate data. Every step is significant because it contributes to building knowledge around the data and providing a reference framework for those responsible for making decisions.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And I like when you said it's no place for a one man show. And I think it's the same thing for teachers as well, because obviously, when you're working on your lesson plans, you're thinking about your classroom, it might feel like you're working alone sometimes, that you have these indication, these directives coming from the Ministry of Education or whatsoever, but then that you're alone in building your own lesson plan. And I think that this vodka series so far have shown that this is not true, not necessarily true, I would say, because there is a community of online teachers that's out there that are struggling with the same topics, trying to integrate data, trying to find their way in not only empowering their students and making it easier for them, I think, to prepare for the job market. But also as individuals, I think that it's good to be aware digital citizens. So thank you for mentioning that today. My next question for you is about the validation you were talking about and about evaluation. So the question would be, how can data be used to evaluate like the long-term impact of policies, maybe policies related to education or to ecological transition, for example. These are also two interesting fields in vet. And can you share examples maybe from projects you've managed in the past?
First of all, data, we use data in evaluation policy, public policy evaluation, in ex ante, in itinerary, and ex post evaluation, so impact evaluation as well, in several different ways. As many ways as there are quantitative and qualitative methodologies. For instance, through difference in difference quantitative methodology, we can observe how a policy has significantly influenced the context, benchmarking with the context in which the policy has not been applied. In this methodology is a quantity methodology, but it's the same in a qualitative methodology. The basis is are data and a set of indicators. So a crucial element in evaluation of impact is, in my opinion, an adequate system of indicator, which must be characterized by accuracy, reliability, coherence, sustainability for purpose. For instance, in my recent experience, with reference to environmental policies and sustainable transition, I found very interesting reading an important report of the European Court of Auditors about the state of play of the National Recovery and Resilience program in Italy, because the ECA underlined the overestimation of some impact indicators in one hand. On the other hand, the lack of ad hoc sub-indicators that are very important to evaluate really in a very realistic way how the activities, how the projects goes towards the goal, the general goal, the strategy, the general strategy that is in the program as the basis of the program. Um, what about vet projects? I have been managing several vet projects co-financed by European Social Fund in different programming cycles of European cohesion policies. So I can say that data is fundamental to evaluate if and how projects achieve results. For instance, in European project, we use a set of output and outcome indicators to monitor and measure how activities contribute to the goal of policy. If a project, for instance, aims to expand the knowledge of artificial intelligence through training programs for youngsters who are needs, not in employment, education, and training, to create specialized professionals, the data about these students can be used in different ways to quantify an output indicator, for example, the number of young people who complete the program on the total participants, but at the same time, over a medium period, it could provide an outcome indicator, such as the percentage of students who have found employment in IA sector after 6 months from they completed the program. So there are several examples we can make, but for in-depth analysis, I would suggest visiting the website of the European Commission, specifically DG Employment, for a number of documents, reports, presentation about VET project evaluation and monitoring reports.
I think we haven't mentioned this yet, so this is a great point for our teachers listening to this podcast. We are always like looking forward to seeing real life data that can be used in our educational programs. They can be used as examples, they can be used as starting points. So there is a lot that can be done considering the data that's out there and knowing that these ones are specifically about vet programs. I think we can play with that information a bit more and also break it down to our classrooms. So thank you for suggesting that. And thinking about our classrooms, we know well the target of this podcast series are vet teachers. So how do you think they can introduce the concept of evidence-based policymaking to their students? Like what kind of activities or projects they might want to try? Well, I think I started answering by saying they can play with the data they find on the European Commission website, but I would like to hear from you a bit more.
Yes, but well, I think that you can start with practical examples to engage students and think together about data, because everyone uses data in their lives. We use data to choose smartphones on the basis of battery capacity or camera quality for taking photos. We use data about guest reviews to choose hotels for a holiday or a restaurant just only for a dinner with friends. So data is all around us and make us our lives easier. So just think about it in our practical life.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we said that we can use like data from our everyday life. We can use what we find on the European platforms. And what about like if we're trying to build like sample reports, something like that? Do you think that educators should use like more and more real life examples from public policy, or maybe also from European projects to make their lessons more engaging? Or do you think they might, I don't know, build ad hoc examples that are suitable for their classroom?
In my opinion, to engage students, it is essential first to bring them closer to public policies. Explain them and emphasize the fact that these decisions shape their lives, and that one day, in one way or another, their action will influence those decisions. Then, as said before, the use of example, I think, from real life can be a way to bring students closer to public policy, but at the same time, try to create an habitude from a student to read, to analyze the technical documents directly from the source, data sources. So in my case, European Commission, the first among the others, is a good way to allow them to understand the policy and feel the public policy closer to them, to their life.
Just another question, because combining these two answers, I think we are just underlying how important it is to know the European meal framework. So we know that we moved from monitoring and evaluation to monitoring, evaluation, assessment, and learning.
So we pass from the evidence-based approach to a performance-based approach, where the evaluation, monitoring and evaluation of policy effectiveness is influenced by the achievement of objectives and goals. The so-called target is a quantity of objectives, and with targets also milestone is a qualitative goals. It's very important for monitoring, and in a long-term perspective also evaluate the public policy. In this context, the data processed through the identified indicators represent an element of verification, not so much of what has been accomplished on it on the field, sorry, but implementing the action decided by public policy. So we are focused more on the result achieved as a consequence of the action, not mainly the activities, the action that what we realized.
Sure, sure. And well, thinking about this, like we'll see, I would say, a growing importance of qualitative indicators more than quantitative indicators, maybe in this framework. Because I remember recently I was at an event where we were discussing the impact of AI in monitoring and evaluation,
Mhm.
because there it was like, okay, you can have like perfectly written reports that are just done by artificial intelligence. So where's the importance of human contribution, not only in terms of writing it, but in terms of what are we actually assessing based on our project. So I think this opens like to a lot of more subtopics we could discuss linked to this. But I would like to continue, I will continue this discussion with you after this
Yeah.
episode. I'm sorry for my audience, but I would like to go back to vet education. So could you suggest maybe a lesson plan for a practical workshop on project reporting? Like, also, if you want to add some hints on choosing the correct indicators, how to do that would be great. But I would like to focus on the lesson plan.
Well, I'm thinking that maybe it could be more interesting for our audience to take a look at, I think, a very interesting website on the OECD to discover the PISA program. And I don't know if you know about PISA program. Is the program for international student assessment. It measures 15 years old ability to use the reading, math, and science knowledge and skills to meet the real life challenges. And surfing on this website, you can find numerous documents, materials, methodologies, and free data sets. I think it could be really interesting for that project, but in general to know more about the use of data.
So, the OECD website, the European Union Commission, are there other platforms you would also like to recommend, especially for data analysis and maybe role playing in policy making, something like that?
Oh, at international level, I think it could be really interesting for monitoring, specifically IFAD website and also FAO. Our website is very rich of information, free information, data, and reports, specifically for development projects. And then depends on at national level we have a lot of data sources that are free, but it depends on our audience from which country it can come from.
The project is based across three European countries. That's Italy, where we are based today, Greece, and Spain. So possibly audience from these three countries, and then other European countries, or maybe worldwide. Who knows? I mean, vocational education and training is at the center of policymaking right now, not only in Europe, but around the world. So, acquiring more technical knowledge and preparing for the job market will become more and more crucial over the years. So, hopefully, people will be listening from everywhere and they'll be able to add their own references or maybe local frameworks where they can find information. So, thank you. Thank you very much. I think today you offered quite a number of insights into policymaking, reporting, and so on. So I really appreciate that. I think today's discussion highlights how data can be shaped into policies, and how data can shape public policies and evaluate the impacts of projects across critical areas. So both in vet or elsewhere in every sector, we can really find how data can inform practical, I would say, reporting and also assessment for further development. So we encourage you to reflect on the strategies and the examples that were provided by Maria Cristina, and also to adapt them to your own teaching objectives and to your teaching style. So we would like to continue this discussion, obviously, throughout the platforms of the project. Feel free to share your own inputs. Feel free to share your lesson plans or other maybe national frameworks where you found information, not only international agencies, but also national, local. We have a lot of statistical institutes out there. So share them with us, please. And stay tuned for our next episode. And I'll be happy to see you next time with our next guest. So thank you, Christina, once again. Have a nice
Thank
day.
you.
Bye.
Bye.